Welcome back to another Teambridge Academy tutorial. In this video, we will be covering the basics of access groups, diving into that permission that helps you ensure everyone has an awesome and focused workspace in Teambridge. You can find access groups in your account settings near the bottom of the left navigation. Along with the name of the access group, you'll find a preview of the users currently in each group and a few quick action buttons. You'll notice the superadmin group has fewer options. That's because this group is for the most part locked to make sure the owner of the account has access to everything. For the other access groups, you'll see the duplicate button to quickly replicate a group, a trash can to delete the group, a button to make that group the default, or if it's already the default, you'll see this button in purple, and of course the main button here to jump in and edit the access group. Let's go ahead and edit our active staff access group and take a look at the different options we have. From the first tab, Access Management, you will see a number of admin tools that typically aren't going to be available to all your team members. They include the Data Builder, which determines if a user can edit the fundamental data structure of your account. As you might imagine, you'll want to be sure that only select users with knowledge of Teambridge have access to this permission. Users with Data Builder will be able to delete columns, essentially wiping out all data that was in that column. Workspace Control allows a user to build, modify, and delete sections and workspaces. If you haven't checked out the video on workspaces and view settings, that tutorial is a great place to start. But in the end, this setting will let users in this group change the left navigation by creating, modifying, and deleting the list items you see there. Scrolling down on this first tab, you'll see a number of different functions that are again primarily for admins or supervisors on your account. You can activate the ability to approve shifts, view pay periods, and timesheet data, and a whole bunch more. In this next section, you can control which account settings are visible to this access group. If this is checked on, a user making changes to the filters on a page or workspace will apply to all other users. So if you're sharing a workspace, you might want to deactivate this. At the bottom of the page, we see access controls for many of Teambridge's account level setting tools. Here you can determine which users groups have access to them. These include the pre-built pages at the top of your left nav, including the dashboard, goals, org chat, and our file and export hub. You can also control the visibility of the activity history tool. As you can see here, both on the account level as well as on the record detail level. Hiding this is a good idea if your users do not have admin level permissions, as they may see some activity that allows them to figure out other data they don't have access to. Access to automations and various sections within the account settings can also be configured here. On the second tab, you'll find the workspace controls. These workspaces are built by you and in the end are completely under your control. You can decide whether users can view the workspace and whether they can change the view settings on the data shown there. Next, let's go into Data Permissions, here on the Data tab. This page allows you to get very specific about who can see what information in your Teambridge account. For example, if a user can see a list of shifts on one of your workspaces, maybe you want them to only see shifts in their location or that match their qualifications. Here you can do just that using what we call global filters. Global filters ensure that no data outside of the role and location match with that user are visible. On each data type, shifts for example, we can decide if the user can view it, if they can create new entries, or shifts in this case, and if they can delete entries. Then drilling one level deeper, we can also decide what level of access an access group has on each column of data within that data type. In this example, you're going to want your staff to be able to see the start time and end time of their shift as well as the clock in and out. We don't have to give them edit access here because the time clock will supersede any of these permissions. You can see some of the other levels of access on the column possible here. These are pretty straightforward, but one of them you might be interested in, update from blank, or in some cases referred to as fill in only, will allow the user to fill in data if it is blank, after which it will become edit only. When might this come in handy? Let's say you want a user to complete their own profile and fill in their own social security number. If you make it update from blank, it'll allow them to input it and then lock it unless you as an admin change it for them. This is also useful for signatures or anything that you wouldn't want your team to go back in and delete after initially filling out. Keep in mind, you will still have full control of the record and you will be able to see all of the details and all the changes in the activity history. On the last section, inside of the access group, you'll be able to configure what your team sees on their mobile app. The larger toggles allow you to activate or deactivate entire sections of the Teambridge mobile app. Inside each of these, you can even set up which features you'd like to activate. Everything is auto-saved here, so these updates will happen almost instantly in the mobile app for the users in this access group. I can activate or deactivate, for example, this unscheduled shift feature. If it is on, the clock in button will show, even if that user does not have a scheduled shift. Some of the other powerful features here under time clock include the geofence restrictions, which allow you to restrict actions like clock in and out if the user is not at the specific location for that shift. Location tracking can also be turned on here to give you a more detailed map view for each shift and allow you to easily determine when a team member left the location if they forgot to clock out. Here we can also turn on required and optional fields at the time of clock out. Now keep in mind that the team member clocking out must have some level of edit access to the required or optional fields to see them here in the dropdown and to successfully clock out. So if you're not seeing a piece of data that you'd like to be required for clock out, go ahead and check the data options to make sure that they can view or at least update that. You should be able to find more specifics on these workflows in your account template walkthrough. Now let's quickly take a look at another user type. Let's configure a client, or as it's called here, a facility scheduler access group. For this client type, we will want them to have web access and be able to add new opportunities into the account. But other than that, we'll want to restrict their workspace and data access. First, let's make sure they can view the calendar page and activate the global filter to make sure they can only see shifts in their location. In this example, the client will be adding shifts that my workforce can claim, so I want to make sure they can create new shifts. So we'll confirm here that they can see the right data, edit the right data, and create new shift entries. That looks good. On the mobile side, we're going to make sure that their mobile app doesn't have any of the extra stuff they won't be using. Now let's take a look where these access controls live in your day-to-day workflows. From any user list view, like the staff page seen here, I can open a user and modify their access group easily using the dropdown. I can also do that inline on the list as shown here. I can even modify the data access so I don't need to go directly back into the account settings. Similarly, I can modify the workspace access by clicking the ... next to the workspace name when I hover over the title. Thanks for joining this Teambridge Academy tutorial. Keep building, keep improving the process, and have fun. We'll see you on the next Teambridge Academy video.